Whether you're building a small app or a complex one, managing data effectively can make a world of difference. Today, I'm going to talk you through practical examples showcasing how to handle user input, update views dynamically, and ensure data consistency across your app. By the end of this video, you'll have a solid understanding of how to leverage SwiftUI data handling features to create remarkable user experiences. Inside my mentoring sessions, when I teach students SwiftUI, I always start with data handling in SwiftUI. So if you want to chat with me for a 60-minute Zoom call, or if you want to learn SwiftUI, go ahead and check out rebeloper.com/mentoring. Now, that put aside, we are going to talk about data handling in SwiftUI. And we are going to go through state, binding, observable object, published, observed object, environment object, all of these property wrappers. And we are going to do this with MVVM, model view model, and also MVS. And what is that? Model view service. We are going to go through the pros and cons of both of them. By the end of this video, you will be a pro in data handling in SwiftUI, because data handling is not that shiny as the other parts of SwiftUI, but it is at most importance. It is crucial that you learn data handling in SwiftUI and that you do it the right way. Otherwise, it will be a mess. And if you do it right, you will have zero UI bugs. And this is what I'm going to teach you today. Master SwiftUI with personalized mentoring at rebeloper.com/mentoring. Unlock your SwiftUI potential with my mentoring service. I'm a seasoned SwiftUI developer and I will guide you towards mastery. Whether you're a beginner or experienced, my tailored sessions will elevate your skills and help you build stunning applications. Don't settle for average. Visit rebeloper.com/mentoring and unleash your SwiftUI expertise today. So let's just start off by just taking a look at this project that I have built right over here. It's the simple vanilla template Xcode project. It just has the globe and the hello world text. Great. Okay, so let's see. This hello world is on the text view itself. What if I just move that data, because actually that is a data, into a text right over here, equals hello world. I'm going to Command X that out and paste it in there. And then I would just say text of type, just adding that string in there. And it's the same thing. Now we just moved our data outside of our view hierarchy, which is okay. Now, what if I wanted to change this text? And let's just see. Let's just add a button right over here with a title. Maybe just tap me. There we go. And the action. Now, what would the action be for this? Well, if you're coming from, if you have a little bit of understanding of Swift, then you would just say, okay, we want to, this is constant, so let's just change this to var, and then we just say text equals hello Ada. Okay, and you will be surprised that we are going to have an error right over here. As you can see, it says cannot assign to property. Self is immutable. Now, if we cannot use var, which is a variable, what can we use in SwiftUI structs? The view, because yeah, this is actually a struct. Well, the first property wrapper that we are going to talk about today, and that is the state variable. So let's add at state at the declaration of our property. So at state var hello world. And now that error will actually go away. And if we hit Command R to build and run, and tap on the button, you will see that hello world changes into hello Ada. And if you are coming from UIKit, this is kind of magical, because yes, this is declarative programming. We are handling the data declaratively and building out these views in a declarative way, which makes data handling really, really easy and straightforward. But of course, you have to watch this video till the end to better understand how all of this is done in SwiftUI. Okay, so we did change our text. So how can we think about this at state? how can we better understand this? Well, think of it like a bucket. And inside that bucket, we have droplets of water. Now, those droplets are the actual data that you give this bucket over time. And I will repeat that. It's data given to the state variable over time. And whatever the latest data is, that state variable will just display it. We'll just give it to the view itself. So the first droplet, the initial droplet, is this hello world. And then the first is hello Ada. And SwiftUI automatically changes the UI for you, which is, again, it's mind-blowing. It's amazing. It's been 5 years since SwiftUI came out, and it's still kind of magical. Okay, so that is at state. Let's take a look at a simple binding. So what I'm going to do right over here is just add a text field. Text field, and we'll just have a title and text. Title would be a name, and let's just have another state variable, and let's just replace this to name. And usually you want to have an empty string for, an empty state for its default value. And then I will just remove let me just add the name right over here. We have the tap me. We're just going to add Ada just as an example. And then here we have a binding of string. So what we are doing here is that we are binding the name, and before I forget, let me just paste it in there. We are binding the name into this text field, and you will see what that actually means. So binding is with a dollar and the property name, which in our case is a name. Okay, and just so we can see it a little bit better, I'm just going to have a text field style of a rounded border. Okay, let's build and run, and let's see how the state of name changes right now. So here we have, you see, we don't have any text below the image of globe. But if we click on tap me, then Ada will be given to the bucket, the name. Therefore, our text name right over here is going to be populated with Ada. And also, because we are binding the text field text is also going to become Ada. Okay, what if I want to type in something to the text field? Well, I can just say Bob. And as you can see, it automatically changes the underlying state data, the name property, which in turn is reflected in this text right over here. Again, an amazing thing. If you are new to SwiftUI, this is mind-blowing. Okay, so this is how you are binding a state variable to certain types of views in SwiftUI. But what if we wanted to create our own binding? So for that, I would just use this one. Let's just create a brand new view, because whenever I can, I would just like to have only one line of code, and here we have 2 lines of code. So let's change that. I'm going to copy this out, and then I'm going to create a new file. So new file, let's select SwiftUI view on next, and I will call this my text field. Okay. And along the way, you are also learning about building out your own views. Okay, so we have this text field right over here. I'm pasting it in there, but it says cannot find name in scope. And if you are a beginner, and I will just do this intentionally, I will do a mistake right over here, and then we are going to create it, just so you know how to avoid all of this and actually how it works. So we are going to create an state var name equals an empty one. Okay, that's fine. Now the error will actually go away. The binding is correct. And then instead of the text field right over here, I'm going to go my text field. And let's just build and run. Let's see what we got here. Okay, and it will say tap me. And the text, this actual text is updating, But now the text field is not updating. Now, why is that? Well, welcome to the single source of truth principle. Whenever you handle data in SwiftUI, you want to make sure that you have a single source of truth for some sort of data. That doesn't mean that you have to have a singleton or something like that. It means that you have one bucket for one data type, then that has to be the single source of truth. And where is my mistake right over here? Well, as we are anticipating the view to update also the text field, we have two sources of data. The state on line 20 and the state right over here on line 12. Now, how to fix this? Well, we want to choose which one should be the source of truth. Well, I think that the one that's inside the content view should be the one. Therefore, we want to bind this state into our custom view that we have created. So let's just go right over here inside the my text field. Instead of state, let's just go at binding var name. And because this isn't a source of truth, you are not giving it an initial value. You are only specifying its type. Therefore, let's just delete that so we get rid of that warning. And the type is of type string. The name is string. And now the error will go away. Well, I'm just going to remove the preview provider for now. Let's not worry about adding all of that for the preview. But now, let's just go back to the content view. And when we are creating this text field, you see the name occurs right over here. So now, if you hit return, you will see something that you already saw with the text field, binding of type string. So let's just bind it, $, name. There we go. And now if I hit Command R, you will see the exact same thing as we had previously. The text field is updating as it should, and also the data comes out of the my text field. As you can see, if I just type out Bob, it's just going to change the source of truth, which is on the content view line 20, and the view is just going to update itself because the state has changed. Really, really exciting stuff. Now, I don't know if you have paid attention when I created this my text field on line 31. We had that kind of name right over here, which wasn't really what we wanted when we still had the state. So let's see if we have access to this name when we are creating this content view. So on the app file, just go content view, and you see we have access to the name, which is really, really bad. Why is that? Well, the sources of truth should be encapsulated into their own, the views that they are created on. And the name is not created in the app file over here or on whatever other view that we might create the content view. Therefore, Apple recommends that on the content view, the state variables should be private. So private var name, and now of course we will not be able to access that state variable, which is thumbs up for our data structures. Okay, so that is a state and binding. The state is a source of truth, think of it like that, and the binding is kind of a segue between views that we are creating in our SwiftUI applications. Okay. Down, and let's talk about observable object. Okay, so now we are binding all of this. What about MVVM? What if I don't really like the state variables right over here? I want to see only the views on the view, and data should live somewhere else. Well, that's what MVVM is for. We have our models, views, and view models. So let's create our first view model. Let's just go create a new file. This will be a Swift file next, and it will be our content view model. Okay, let's create that. Let's import SwiftUI. There we go, SwiftUI. And this will be actually a class. Let me just copy out the name, content view model of type observable object, not observed object, it's observable object. And we have our first view model ready to be used inside our SwiftUI application. And how do we use that? Well, inside the content view, we are going to create a state object. And yeah, I just forgot about that. Let me just add in here. We are going to also talk about a state object. How do we initialize an observable object inside our SwiftUI views? Well, we are going to use at state object. Again, private var, because again, this will be the source of truth, and that will be our view model, and equals our content view model. Let's see, all of the errors should go away and we are fine. So now that we have our view model, let's add some states inside our view model. Well, let me just copy this out and paste it into the content view model. And actually, states are for views. Now, what is kind of the equivalent for observable objects? Well, they are called published. So at published, and this time it will not be private because we do need to get access to it inside our content view. A published var name equals, and we just give it a default value. You could just make this an optional string, but you will be unwrapping all of that that optional inside your views, which is kind of a pain. So just give a default value right over there. Okay, so now that we have that, we can just migrate to our view model. So view model dot name right over there. View model dot name. View model dot name equals Ada, and we are also going to bind it to view model dot name. Okay, and now we can just safely comment this out. Let's build and run, and let's see if anything broke at all. And we will find that everything is a-okay. So let's just type in a Bob right over there. Great. So now we just moved things. And why would we want this? Well, first off, I don't really like this on the button. I know it's an action, we have a completion for the action right over here. But if you are going to have a lot of buttons and you are going to have a huge file, you will be searching for all of these. Therefore, what you want to actually do is just extract it into its own function. So maybe did tab button. Of course, it will be much more descriptive in your case, whatever that action does. And then we just go did tab button right over there. Okay, we extracted. Why is that really important? Well, now we can just search for it. As you can see, we have did tab button. And also, if you are using the minimap, then you can easily find that function. Okay, so that's one thing that you have to do in order to have a better code file. But we just moved the state variable. We should also move the function. And that is what we are going to do. Actually, I'm going to copy this out and paste it into our view model. So the functionality, not just the data, also the functionality comes into our view model. And right over here, we don't need the view model. We just go name equals Ada. So back to the content view, we are not going to access the view model's name property. We're just going to say view model did tab button. So it's again much more readable. Still, I would recommend having this function outside of the button's action because of searchability, and it's easier to understand your code. Okay, so that is our view model. We have moved our data buckets and also our functionality outside of our view, which is really, really great. Okay, so that is our observable object. What if we want to move all of this observable object out, well, before we move, let me just be the devil's advocate right over here. Let's create a new view. new file. That will be a SwiftUI view, and let's just call it a detail view. Yes, detail view. Let's create that. It's a simple SwiftUI view. Maybe let's just have here hello a detail view, so we can just see it. Okay, we're going to navigate after a while to this detail view, but for now, let's just be a little bit naughty and let's just try to bend whatever we have right over here. First of all, let's create a private state object, and I do have my code snippets right over here just for typing these out quickly. So we just have our content view model and content view model, and yeah, we have access to it, but this is a bad thing. Now, why is that? Well, the MVVM architecture says that your view model should be responsible only for your view. So add functionality data buckets into your view model that is specifically for your view. And this content view model now can be accessed inside the detail view. So we have to be a little bit more careful right over here. Now, what could we do? Well, we could, first of all, we could just make this not available outside of our content view. So we could just create an extension on the content view, and then let's just hit Command B. It will not be accessible. B has failed, and we are going to have an error right over here. Okay, but if I really know that it's inside the content view, I would just say content view, okay, dot content view model, and we are at the same place. So in order to fix this also, what we can do is just move our content view model. Let's just grab this and move it into the content view right over here. I'm just going to delete the preview and paste this over there. And I'm going to make this private. I could just make it also file private. File private is actually a little bit better. So now in the detail view, we will never be able to access it. Of course, if you just move the detail view inside the content view file, then you will be able to access it. But, then you are really, really looking for trouble. Okay, so yeah, that's how you would just create your view models. Therefore, we have this content view model. Well, we could just name this simply view model and then view model. And if you are following this pattern, just name view model. You don't have to worry about which type of view model, because this is the view model for the content view. So therefore, you're just going to always initialize this as state object private var view model equals view model. It's much more readable. Okay, so that's how you kind of encapsulate your view models and make them really, really powerful. Therefore, let's just delete this file. We don't need that anymore. Okay, so what if I want to not have view models? I want to share these buckets of data and the functionality. So for that, we are going to use services. Let's just create a new service. So let's just create a new file. It will be a Swift file. Next, let's just name this maybe profile service. Okay, and we're also going to import SwiftUI, of course. So SwiftUI. It will be again a class, profile service. And you might be surprised that this also is going to be an observable object. Now, what's the difference between a view model and a service? Well, actually, in coding or in type, it's the same thing. But how we are going to use them, that's a whole difference. So, profile service. Well, actually, what I'm going to do is just create the M part of our MVVM, the model, and we are going to use that inside the profile service. So let's create a new file, a Swift file. Let's just create a profile, and that will be a struct profile. And I'm just going to create the simplest model ever. We're going to have a name of type string. Okay, that's just it. So now under the profile service, I'm going to create a published var profile equals our profile, and we do need to give it a name because, you know, we just have that property. We could just go with a simple empty string, but if you are going to have a lot of them, well, I would just suggest to just make this giving it a default value. Therefore, we just need to set this to var, and then when we are initializing it, we could just say profile. We could just use the name. We are not going to, just profile. This is, remember, the default value, just the starter value for our profile published variable. And then let's just have a function of fetch profile. And what this will do is just have, let's just have a dispatch queue dot main.async after. We're just going to wait. Let's just wait for, well, just 1 second, and then we are going to execute some code. And we are going to say that, okay, the name that we fetched from the server, it will be Ada. Okay, and then let's create our profile. Let profile equals a profile with a name of name, okay? And then we are going to set self.profile, that is the published variable, equals our profile that we have just created. And you know, this is kind of a standard way of fetching data from a server and just putting it into the published variable. And that's it. Okay, so let's just use this. So inside the content view, first of all, what we want to do is we are just going to get rid of our, well, you could just use the view model. Let's just have maybe a divider right over here and some new stuff. So right over here, I'm just going to have a text of name, and I want to add in here something, you know, the name from the profile, from our profile service. So what we could do is just create a private state object and profile service, as we did with the view model. This will be a profile service. Great, we have the single source of truth, and then we just go profile service.profile.name. That's our name. And when we, let me just have another tap me button, I would just say change name. And then I'm just going to put the functionality in here. You could just move it in. Well, actually, let's just be real citizens right over here, real good citizens. Did tab change, or just go change name. And then the action would be change name. What would we have under this function? Well, we want to grab our profile service dot fetch profile. Oh, sorry, not fetch profile. We would just have, yeah, the fetch profile is in another place. Just a second, so we can create that. We are going to create a function of fetch, change name. Okay, there we go. And here we would just say profile dot name equals Bob. Okay, so let's just go back here, profile service dot change name. Okay, we are going to change the name, but how are we going to fetch the name? Well, we're going to do that on the appear. So on appear, profile service dot fetch the profile. Okay, enough talking and coding. Let's just see the code in action. Let's build and run. And after 1 second, the name should be updated to Ada. And whenever we tap on that change name button, it should be updated to Bob. So Ada as populated, great. And Bob, there it is. Okay, so you already know this from the view model. what if I want to use this profile on the detail view also? So first of all, let's just have navigation link right over here, navigation link with the destination and label maybe, or let's just go with navigation link, title and destination, detail view, and then the destination would be our detail view. Okay. Because this is a navigation link, we need this inside the navigation stack. So we are going to add that outside of our content view, navigation stack with the root content view. Let's just move that in there. There we go. Let's just hit Command R and let's see this in action. So detail view, and you already saw that the name has populated to Ada, and you just change. That's it. Okay. So actually what I'm going to do is just display that name on the detail view. So let me just grab this text and go and maybe paste it. Well, I'm just going to paste it right over there. But we do need access to the profile service here. So what we can do is just use the observed object. You see, the next property wrapper that we are going to talk about. It's the observed object. Okay, so right over here at observed object, and think of this as the binding. It's kind of a segue to another view, but this time it's not just for one value, it's for an observable object, a whole class. So observed object var profile service of type profile service. Again, because this is kind of a segue into the other view with the data, we are just declaring its type. We're not giving it any value. And now the profile service is available on the content view. When we are navigating, now we have to give the profile service in. And we're not binding or anything right over here. We're just moving the profile service in. Let's hit Command R and let's see how this is actually working. So let's wait for Ada. There we go. And then detail view, name Ada. Let's go back, change the name, Bob. And now under the detail view, it should say name Bob. Amazing. There it is. So this is how you would just move data through a service. But this is going to get a little bit cumbersome over time if you are going to move this data into all of your views where you are navigating. And therefore, next up and finally, we are going to talk about the environment object. The environment object can be set up on the root of your navigation or the root of your view where you have subviews. In our case, we are just going to talk about the most elaborate one, and that is the navigation. And it will be available whenever we choose to get access to it. So you don't have to move it around and through these, like you have right over here, through these properties as the observed object. So let's see how it works. So whenever you create your root view, you are going to put the environment object. You are going to set up an environment object from the state object. So let's just do a little bit of refactoring right over here. Let's just copy the source of truth out. And by the way, we're just cutting it all the way out and put it wherever we want to initialize it, where the root is. Now, you might be tempted to add the .environment object on the root, so the profile service, but this would not be okay, because when we navigate away, the environment object is available only on the content view, not on the detail view. So how to fix that? We're just going to move that one line further down and put the environment object on the navigation stack altogether. Therefore, every view that's inside the navigation stack, including the detail view in this case, will have access to that environment object. Okay, so this is how we are setting it up. How do we access it? So first of all, because we deleted our declaration on the content view, we need to make sure that we have a private environment object. So at environment object, private var name profile service of type profile service. Again, think of it like a segue, just accessing it. Okay, and all of profile service, all of the wordings will go away and it will be functional as it is. Now, in the detail view, we are going to do the same thing at environment object, private var, profile service of type profile service. And I'm going to actually replace the observed object. There we go. All the errors, if any, will go away. Now in the content view, now we are not going to need to add that profile service. We're not going to need to move it. And believe it or not, that's it. So we have set up our environment object and we are accessing it in any of the subviews or navigated views from the root view. So if you go to the detail view, we have a name Ada, and if you just change the name to Bob, that's change name Bob. There we go. I didn't tap it. We have Bob changed right over there, which is really, really cool. And that is environment object. Now, MVVM is for encapsulating functionality and data handling inside your current view. MVS is for the whole picture, when you want to have access to data throughout your application. And with the help of these really, really cool property wrappers with SwiftUI, you will be a master in handling data in SwiftUI. Now, if you liked how easily I just navigated with navigation link, go ahead and check out Navigation for Dummies. The video is right over here.